Shelly, welcome to the Retail Horror Podcast.
Yay! I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you so much. You are part of a handful of people that have submitted your stores, and I have to tell you, this is to me the best thing I've done is put it out there for stores to send in their information because it's putting stores that I would probably never see right in our lab. So thank you for doing this because you have a fantastic story and I can't wait to get into it. But before that, introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your background.
My name is Reshell Douglas, but I commonly go by Shelly because it's easier for everybody to remember, and it kind of goes with my business name, Not Too Shabby. So I go by Shelly, Shabby Shelly. Um, I am I don't know what do I do? I do everything. I own a brick and mortar in Vancouver, Washington, which is a suburb of Portland, Oregon. And I have owned it now for 25 years.
Congratulations, by the way. I meant to open with that because that is a good amount of time that is not like the norm for retailers. So, congratulations.
Well, thank you. And that officially puts me in the crazy club because not, not too many people can say they've owned a brick and mortar for 25 years. But in all honesty, it's because I love what I do. And I always say you should do what you love and what comes naturally. And I'm very blessed and to be able to do that. Um, and so going back to about my store, it's more of a lifestyle store, a little bit of everything. Right now, we carry women's clothing, baby and children's gifts, home decor, bath and body, stationery, and I specialize in custom curated gift baskets. And I'm sure we'll get into that story, how I ended up there. But yeah, so I do a little bit of everything, and I'm on the corner of my own little corner of 16th and Broadway down here in this thriving, growing little town, and I just love what I do.
You're just saying off camera that you're relatively close to me. I'm in Medford, and you're across the river from Portland. So I love that. I had no idea. I don't even know if that's in your bio that you sent over. um, okay. The first question I have is the nickname Shabby Shelly. That to me says you sell vintage. Do you sell vintage?
Well, when I first started back in 2000, that was kind of the era of the whole shabby chic, Rachel Ashwell, and the
Oh my
chippy
God.
furniture. So when we first opened, that's exactly what we were. We were this combination of um, furniture and signs and vintage that we had bought from container sales and built our store around that. And then filled in with a lot of what I call Frenchy foo-foo soaps and bath and body. And we carried Rachel Ashwell bedding and
Wow.
all the yummy Bella Notte bedding. And so, yes.
Bella Notte. I love that line. I forgot about that line.
I know. And I have so many pieces of it that, is just, yeah, if you know, you know. But that's how we started. And that probably lasted for maybe 5 or 6 years. And then, we had to move locations, and we moved to, more of what I would call a soccer mom suburbia into a strip mall. And that totally changed our clientele. So we kind of got out of the bedding and the higher end decor, and we ended up going into more children's. I actually carried more toddler size and the squeaky shoes and anything that was what I call grandma bait. And so, that was that location. That was probably 2006 to 2011. And then that was right after, of course, 2008, the total crash. And that really changed our business. and we had to do a shuffle like a lot of people. And we started adding a lot more women's accessories. So, hats and scarves and jewelry. And at that time, I started carrying Brighton jewelry, which was what I call my lifeline, who basically saved us.
Wow.
After 2008, because they're very selective on where they would put their merchandise, and we were really blessed to be able to have that, and that carried us through. And then after that, 2011, our lease was up at that spot, and it just happens that my family owns some retail sites down in downtown Vancouver that were occupied, and the tenant was moving out. And we were like, oh, we're going to go move downtown Vancouver and go into our own space. So that's what we did. In 2011, we moved down here, which used to be our family bridal salon. We were in the wedding industry. And so it was kind of nice to go back to our old home, so to speak.
So you had talked about, because I love this story, that you started helping your mom making floral arrangements in her sewing room. So this goes back to those days of doing this. So is this where you started your first taste of retail? Because how old were you at that point?
I was 9.
Wow.
And she one day said that she was taking a class on how to make silk flowers. And, my mom, and this is a little disclaimer, my mom just passed away 8 weeks ago. So if I get a little verklempt, I'm so sorry. But
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, anyway, so she said one day that she had started taking a class on how to make flowers, and I don't even remember the name of the company, but it was where you had these silk petals and you glued them together and you wrapped the stem and you put the calyx on and you made your own silk flowers.
Wow.
And it was more than just, I'm taking fresh flowers or I'm taking silk flowers and I'm building bouquets. She actually built the flower itself. And I remember helping her do that. And she started doing wedding flowers for friends and family out of her little sewing room. And that was just the beginning of it all. And a long story short, she ended up working for a florist that let her have a room in exchange for working the front counter. And she started doing consignment wedding gowns because, this is early 80s. And, economically, people weren't going out and spending $500 on a wedding dress. So she came up with this idea that, well, everybody has a wedding gown in their closet that they're not using. So let's do consignment wedding gowns. So she started doing that. And over the process of about 5 years, it just grew and grew and grew and grew.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And then after she kind of stopped doing the consignment, she started adding new. My dad ended up leaving his job and coming into the business, and they bought the buildings that we're in.
Wow.
And totally expanded, and then it became all brand new. So this salon was bridal gowns, tuxedos, prom dresses, veils, jewelry. We had a seamstress. There was a florist. We even had a small reception hall in the back. I mean, it was all the things.
Wow. How long did they have this? And what was your involvement other than when you were 9 years old? Where were you involved in the business? Did they bring you in? And how long did they do this for?
They did it up until 1996. They sold the business. They retired. And the 10 years prior to that, from the time I graduated from high school, I was doing the buying, the merchandising, sales, all the things. We would go to the markets in LA and Vegas and Seattle and So yeah, that's kind of my background is I would say the most intensive customer service
Yeah.
training that you can get is working in the bridal industry.
Oh my God. I could ask you questions all day on the bridal end because I can only imagine some of the crazy scenarios that you saw and like the crazy bridezillas and oh my God.
Yeah, and it's not exaggeration.
Oh, I know. I was one of those insane brides at that point. That's why my second marriage, I was like, I don't want a fancy dress. I just want, we had a taco truck. It was mariachi band. It was not
I love it.
a thing. And it's like but I was evil. Like I'm not kidding. I was I was in Fred Siegel still in my defense, and I thought I was all that in a Big Mac. And you unfortunately get very caught up in like who you think you are as ego, and that unfortunately just extends out to poor people that try and help you find a wedding dress. It's like, so I can imagine.
Yeah, and and that's pretty much what happened. It was burnout. Every scenario you could think of, how people acted, and it wasn't so much the brides. It had a lot to do with the family members, the jealous sister. Um, it, I should write a book because all the things that I heard and saw, and when my parents retired and sold it, I worked for the new owner for a while, helped her set it up and run it. And then in 1998, one day I'm with my mom. My mom and I, we love to shop, we love to decorate, we love to do all these things. And we were probably at some sort of vintage sale, barn sale. And I look at her and I go, Mom, why don't we do something fun? Why don't we do this? We love this. We don't have to do bridal. We're done with that. Let's do something we love that's happy. And she's like, okay. So we spent a couple years, planning our idea and what we thought the store was going to look like. And my mom would always say, oh, that's not too shabby. Oh, that's not too shabby. And I looked at her again and I'm like, Mom, that's the name. That's the name of our store. And so that's where Not Too Shabby came from. And that's how my mom and I started our business.
I love the idea of the vintage. I mean, I remember there was a store I worked for on Montana Avenue that a lady named Cecilia Kelly owned, and she had a fantastic eye, and she would bring in vintage pieces and whitewash them, and then
Mhm.
I remember up and down Montana Avenue, everything was shabby chic. I mean, it was
Yep.
this insane phenomenon that that I mean like the English rose print and the bedding and like it was so feminine. It's so far off of what is happening in design world right now. But if you
Right.
look up Rachel Ashwell, and I mean I still have her design books because I mean it really was so beautiful and so girly, I guess is the best way to put it. And I mean what an amazing, because if you think about it, like what an amazing way to start a business. You can buy something vintage and whitewash it and then sell it
Mhm.
and then add pieces to it that feel like, like that still feel like that lifestyle. Like that must have been an incredible journey.
Yeah, it was. And really, all you needed was a can of matte white paint and you were good. So,
When did you
uh,
start adding new things you said to it?
um, in you mean with,
You
uh,
start, did you start off with the vintage furniture and then or it brought in new products, or did you just start with the furniture and then brought in products as you kind of grew?
yeah, no, we had new products. So we had like the Roger Jolet soaps and, you know, uh, several Bath and Body lines
Did you sell
and
the Gianna
stationery line.
Rose? Do you remember Gianna Rose, the soap line?
Yes, yes, yes. And they were really pretty and pink and black and white. Oh, yes, we had that too
I
in the boxes.
blast in the past. I don't know why I just thought about that, but it's such a cute bath line. Um,
Yeah.
so like okay, because I forget when that trend kind of started going away from it. At what point did you start to read the writing on the wall? Was it traffic had slowed down? Was it sales had slowed down? Did you start losing interest in that whole look? I mean, how did that? Because I always wonder when there's something that's like a big style of the way everything in the whole store is done, whether it's modern or, vintage. Like I always wonder when that starts turning, what are some of the signals as you're in the store, and what makes you start to pivot?
I think that's definitely the theme of my story for the 25 years is, and everyone's used the word pivot, in the last, 5 years, but you have to be adaptable. You have to flex. You have to really be in tune with your clients. And, obviously the economy and design. Um, you just you can't be afraid to say to yourself, you know what, this line is not working in my store, and you got to move on. So I think, like I said, we moved, and every time we moved, you had different clientele. You weren't going to be the same store, and you had to be willing to, have like a dating period almost with your clients. To just see what their tastes were, who they were, and yes, I retained older clients that I had from the previous spot, but you definitely had to get a feel for your neighborhood, what they want, what price range you were going to be in. And I know that doing that is probably why I'm still here. Is being really flexible and just really sitting back, and before you go to market, and really thinking about and looking at your numbers, and I am a preacher for, if you own a store, a brick and mortar, you need to work your sales floor. Everyone's always says,
my God, thank you.
Because everyone says, oh, we'll just open up another store and hire a manager, and I'm like, no, because it wouldn't be my store. They hired help will never treat your business like you do. And this is our heart and soul. And the customers are my family. They're my babies. And I want to talk with them. I want to hear what they want and feedback from them. And if you don't work your sales floor, I don't know how you could honestly run a business, I guess, based on numbers, but it seems a little stale. But
Yes. And I'm going to back that up a little bit, because I think that, when I grew up in the world of Fred Siegel, Fred mandated that all of us that were that were owners were working owners. And it was a non-negotiable 6 days a week, open to close, which meant we opened at 10, you got there at 9, and you stayed till 8 o'clock because we closed till at 7 p.m. And it was grueling. But I will say this, that education and understanding how important it is to be a working owner, and not only for the sales and your customers, but to see what your employees are doing, and to work with them and train them. And so when you're not there, they're an extension of you. But even for those who are just buyers, to be on the sales floor and to see what your product looks like, to see how it's wearing on the floor, to see how it's merchandised, because there's a lot of people that are buyers for big operations or even small operations, but they're not at the store. And to go in and walk your floor and see it and touch it and feel it and listen to the customers, but by far and large, being a working owner and being on the floor and getting to know your customers, and how was your vacation? Bring your dog in. How are the kids? Like all those things, because at the end of the day, customers are coming for you, the owner. They have that connection with you. And that is so key of being there and actually seeing it. And it's true. Yeah, you could hire a manager, but it's never going to be you. It's always going to be people want you.
yeah, and I have definitely seen that. Like I said, I just celebrated my 25, years in business, and back in June, my staff surprised me with a surprise party. And okay, so I'm the worst person to surprise because I'm very all over the place and I'm not very scheduled. And I am, you talk ADHD. I'm like squirrel. No, wait, I'm going to go over here. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go do this. So they can't really predict where I'm going to go and what I'm going to do. So the fact that they pulled it off um, for about 3 months planning this party. And it was under the idea that my husband and I just celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary. And so they invited us, thank you. They invited us to this 80s party. So I knew I was going to an 80s party. And then all of a sudden, the day before, I get a call from our historical society museum, which is a block away from the director. And he said, I really need you to make up a basket for a donation and I need you to deliver it. And I'm like, okay, well, I've got another event to attend, but I'll definitely have someone deliver it. And he texts me back and is like, no, I really need you to do it. And I'm like, oh, okay, weird. So here I am, my husband and I'm dressed up like Molly Ringwald. And I'm walking over to the museum with my gift basket, before I go to this 80s party. And I walk up the steps and I walk in the door and it was a room full of people. I would say at least 50, 75 people.
Oh my God.
And it was like, surprise. And it was my employees, my family, sales reps, customers.
Oh my God. Amazing.
It was so overwhelming. And at that moment, I knew, hey, I did it, and that it just goes to show the connection that, all that hard work of working your sales floor, knowing your customers, loving up your employees, having relationships with your sales reps, so important, and it was just beautiful. So
I need you
it's
to
a great
picture of what you wore because you have red hair. So if anyone who's listening to this and not watching, you have red hair and you do have a remarkable resemblance to Molly Ringwald, by the way. So paint the picture of what you're wearing to this party, please.
Oh, if you go to my Instagram, the video is up. It's probably around June 15th. You can see me walking in my pretty in pink prom dress.
Oh.
And yeah, so.
Well, fun. And that speaks volumes also about your employees that they did this with you and that for you. And that speaks volumes as well, because, I think a lot of times how you just said love up on your employees. I don't think people understand. Well, I know some people do, but I think a lot of owners don't understand and the value of your employees and really bringing them under a wing and loving up on them and giving them all the information that you have as their boss. And I don't. There's often times where employees I see are just employees, and the owner has everything to do with it as well, of whether the kids checked out or not, because they're by themselves. There's no one else in the store, and it's how often do you check in on them? Like how often do you take them by the side and say, hey, you're doing a great job? Because I think everybody needs an attaboy, and obviously you do a good job with this, because I don't know of anybody that's had a surprise party thrown for them by their employees. So good.
Yeah, I'm a lucky girl.
You are. So take us through your store today, now in your it's your parents' building, correct? Still?
My dear father is my landlord. That's a good thing and a bad thing. I get a really good deal But sometimes he's a little grumpy, but I love him anyway.
Does he come in and look and like, I don't know if I do, because I have a couple of clients that their parents are either they bought the business from their parents or their parents are their landlords. And it's hilarious to watch the parents come in because the kids actually still are, I mean, I call them kids, but the child is still relatively nervous about their parent. And like one parent's like walking through and like, I don't know about this and I don't know about that. I'm like to the side, like, oh my God.
That's exactly how it is. I'm 56 years old and he still makes me feel like I'm 10. He'll walk in and, my dad's pretty casual. So he walks in with his sweats and he'll come in and he'll just come and stand next to me at the counter. And sometimes there's a client at the counter and they're like looking at me like, who's this guy? Did he just walk off the street? And I'm like, hi, Dad. Because they're just like, who's this guy? But yeah, so he comes in and lets me know when the garbage can has not been dumped and all those great things. But
Everything your dad.
That's a family business. So, so my business now today, I said previously I was going to get into that story about where I am, and it's way different than Rachel Ashwell Bedding. So, COVID, I know we beat this with a dead horse about how much our businesses have changed since COVID, but mine has changed for the good. So obviously, 2000, March of 2000, we all had to close our doors, and it's like, I seriously stood in my store and I'm looking around and I'm like, what the hell am I'm going to have to, okay, well, I guess I'm selling everything off and I'm going to be a realtor, I guess. I don't know. So, but I went to my store every day. I didn't stay at home, and I had a website up within 2 weeks, and just for clients to contact me, and I started doing the silly Facebook videos and a lot of emails, and I put my cell phone number on all the emails, and I said, hey, if you need something, text me. I'll come and I'll deliver it. And I started doorstep delivery. And at that time, real estate was really hot in our area. And I already had a lot of clients that were realtors because I have the Realtor Association across the street from me. So I already had that customer base. And a lot of them were like, hey, I need a closing basket. So can you make me up a closing basket? And I'm like, yeah, of course I can do a closing basket. And so I would start putting things together in the store, and then I would deliver it to a doorstep, or, we had the curbside pickup. And then one of my good clients said to me, well, it'd be really nice if you could put a bottle of wine in this. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll get a liquor license. So I got a liquor license and I started carrying wine and beer.
Wow.
So which is great because if I go to a tasting room in industry, so I get free tastings. Anyway.
Bonus.
So I started doing closing baskets. And then, of course, fast forward, we reopened our stores. And that business just grew and grew and grew to the point that a central part of my business was people coming in for gift baskets. So I changed my merchandise mix. It wasn't so much about the clothing or bars of soap. It was about pancake mixes and charcuterie boards and towels and everything, and kitchen cleaners, all the things that you would need for gift baskets. And it's crazy how I found a niche of people wanting people to do that. Because, we think as creatives, oh, well, that's easy. I love doing this, putting things together. but there's other people out there who don't have the time or just hate doing it. So they're just going to pay someone to go do it. And essential part of my business now is my text line. People text me all the time. Okay, I have a closing. It's a couple. They're in their 30s. They have they like to hike and they have a dog. So $150. Have it done Tuesday, and that's the main part of core of my business now.
I will say, and I say it all the time. Yeah, I hate rehashing COVID, but some of the stories from COVID and how people reimagine their business is so amazing to me. I mean, it was horrible, but it was also kind of a gift. I will say, like, those who embraced it and who jumped right in and who, you know, embraced social media and embraced, I need a website. Like, those are the stores that really seem to have survived and thrived. I mean, to be honest, for the gift basket thing, I've always had this question because I haven't had a gift person on, like, gift basket person. And I've always wondered, so when you do your like, do you have, like, here's our 6 gift box options, and you own all the inventory just to create those 6? Or do you just order a bunch of stuff and it goes on the store floor and you pull your inventory to create the basket? Or do you have a whole separate lot of inventory that is just baskets that doesn't intermix with your retail inventory? It was a long one.
Yeah, that is the tricky point. You have to decide which one you're going to be. I definitely not, your gift baskets or us online, where they're pre-made. I have a warehouse full of pre-made ones. My website has 6 different themes, new baby, wedding, new job. That's not what I'm doing. I'm using my years of experience of buying and customer service, and I'm calling myself a custom curator. So when I have my store inventory, and people tell me what they need, I said, well, tell me a little bit about the person that you're giving it to. What do they like? What's their style? Are they fancy? Are they, simple? And I custom curate it. So I go through my store and I pick things to fit that person. So they're not pre-made, they're not preset. So when I'm ordering my store's inventory, I have to think, okay, I got to have a little bit for this person and a little bit for that person. I've got to have some golf stuff for the guys. I got to have some whiskey stuff for, and so that's what I think makes me a little bit different than most gift baskets, that they're not prepackaged. There's not a pre-theme.
It is also a gift of having ADD, where you're able to sit there and you're curating for your store, but at the same time, you're thinking about price points that would work in a basket and who in the basket. I mean, that in its own is like an ADD trait that is very good having, but it's not easy to buy like that, like curating for your store, but keep the baskets in mind.
Mm-hmm. That has changed the way I buy, because I definitely have to think about, having enough stock on hand and, being able to fit, something for everybody. I had to expand my man section, because I've always been a girly foo-foo store. And now I have to have lots of gifts for guys. And, I'm sorry, but guys are hard to buy for. And
there's not a lot of great stuff out there. There's some, but there's definitely, after coming back from the shows and doing it with Lucy's, we have a men's department, like trying to think outside of the box. That's great men's gifts that aren't, my husband's a contractor, so all those cute tools and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I look at Dave and he's all, there's no man that is going to use that.
Yeah.
So it is challenging for men.
Yeah, it is. And along with those little gadgets, and, not every guy drinks whiskey and not every guy golfs. And so, I have to do, some local screen printed hats and, a lot of, there is some really good bath and body lines for men out there, especially with the whole beards and mustaches. And, and guys are really into what I call techie stuff and books on trivia and history. A lot of those items do really, really good with the guys, but yeah, that's been interesting how I've had to expand. And then I do a lot of things specifically for realtors, because they like the keychains that say, welcome to your dream home, or, or the budgets on how to keep your budget on remodeling your home. So, there's extra little things you got to think about, when you go and buy.
So when you're buying, because I always think about like some of my stores that do gift baskets, and it's like, their normal quantities are like sixes, but then you have three people that want baskets and your whole thing's wiped out. And now so what kind of quantities are you looking at? Like, do you buy wider and deeper, or do you buy narrow, like wider and shallower, or do you buy short, like narrower and deeper?
Yeah, I definitely have like my core products, my core lines that I sell over and over again. I go a lot deeper. So instead of doing 4 or 6, I'm doing 12s or 24s sometimes. And a lot of the baskets that I do are local food items. So they're items from the Pacific Northwest. So, there's your toffees and your caramels and your chocolate covered cherries. And those are items that if I have an order come in, I can usually get within a couple days. So that's good. If I need 24 or something, I can get it quickly.
I love regional stuff. I love regional gifts. Like that's, I think my
Mhm.
favorite thing right now we're building at Lucy's is the regional section, which now brings me to my next question, which hopefully in a couple years we will not be talking about anymore, which is tariffs. How
Yeah.
are you finding more products locally to avoid that tariff, or have you been hit with any of these big, like, because I keep seeing, for fair, people not realizing something's coming straight from Canada, straight from the country of origin. And
Mhm.
they get their $350 worth of mugs, and then a week later they're hit with a $350 bill from FedEx or UPS for filing. They're playing customs brokers basically. So now their $350 of mugs is now $350 custom or in tariffs, and it's like the price point now of something that would have been $5 is like so large that people are starting
Yeah.
to shipments. So how are you kind of approaching the tariff thing?
Well, I definitely early in the year did most of my buying for holiday, and so I didn't get hit with a lot of tariffs. And this last market season, I would say there was only one major decor vendor that I buy from that I had to pay tariffs on. It's, you get all your bowls and, your little ceramic things that, I need. But I would have to say that I haven't been personally hit a lot. And I, with the food products and my core products that I'm using for all these baskets, I don't get the tariffs with that. But also, I'll have to say that, I learned as being a buyer, going to market, working with your reps. I go because I want the deals. You have to be a good shopper. You have to be a savvy shopper. I will. I want to know what the show specials are. How much do I have to buy to get a break on shipping? How much do I have to buy to get a discount? And that makes a huge difference. So when you said, do I go deep with certain vendors? Yeah, I'll go deeper with one vendor so I can get zero shipping, and that saves you hundreds of dollars.
I think that that's one thing when I talk to people, and they're like, oh, we don't do the show. We only, and I'm like, how do you, well, one, I just think shows are still incredible. Yes, fair has its place. I'm not dinging it
Mhm.
all because I love it, but I personally like feeling and touching and seeing the product in person. And then
Mhm.
you also get show and fair, yes, does have some show deals. I think that they extend, but by far and large, the show discounts and whatnot that you're getting physically at the show are very different than if you're doing it from home and on fair, or you're not going to the show to actually see it and touch it. It's a very different experience.
Yeah, it definitely is. And like one of the main things that I started early in the year, and I knew that I was in danger of dealing with the tariff issue, was baskets, containers for the baskets. And I started early looking for deals. And you talk about fair, and I do go to market, and I'm very loyal to my sales reps. But sometimes on fair, if you shop good enough, you'll find a new vendor who has free shipping plus a discount. And I stocked up.
Yeah. That's smart. I think it's smart to work both avenues. I mean, they both have a place, but I do love that you first and foremost said, about the comment about the reps. And obviously everyone has seen the reps are people too, or reps are local too. Like
Yeah.
that's how important that is. And I think talk to everyone a little bit about the importance and what the value you find in working with your reps, because I think that there is a lot of people have literally jumped ship from doing the shows and working with reps to only working fair, which I don't. To me, it really limits you. I know there's great things on there. I find great things. It's like great to patch in things that aren't brands that aren't repped at the national level yet, but I can't imagine only doing it through fair. Like I just don't, so talk to us a little bit about the value and why you love working with your reps.
Uh, they are people too. They're just like us, they're just on the other side of the fence, selling, from at the markets. It's to me, it goes back to building those relationships. Having a relationship with your local rep is invaluable, because what happens if a new store moves in your area? Who's going to protect you? They're going to protect you. What happens if you get a shipment and the company's saying, well, it's not my fault, it came in broken? Well, your sales rep's going to go to bat for you. And it's happened for me so many times through the years where sales reps have stood up for me and helped me. If you have a open house, who's going to come to your store and help sample the goods? That rep is. So I have so many dear reps, and I love you, and I hope you're all watching. I love you. I would definitely support them. And yes, I do buy on fair, but if I know that that line is repped by a certain rep, I will contact my rep and say, I'm going to get free shipping on fair. Can I have your link so that you get credit? And I'll do the best I can to buy direct from them. But if sometimes this deal is too good, I will go through fair, but I'll try to use their link so they get credit.
Yeah, I like the fact that you loop them back in, because I know that Fair has said they give their reps credit, but I know talking to a lot of reps are like, we have to like literally send in paperwork, and they don't do it automatically. So let's put it that way. And it serves its purpose, but I do love it. And I will say, after doing the shows with Lucy's, is that a handful of reps who I love that they did do this is like, hey, if you need help, because they are going to be hit with a ton of boxes after what we just wrote. Like I wrote more business than they have written in a season, but it's important for their store to have this impact. And we're literally, most of the stuff in the store is on sale to exit it, but it means there is so much stuff. And have the rep say, let me know. I'll come down and help unpack if you need it. I'll price stuff like that. That is something that fair is never, you're never going to get that. And it's there is a balance, and there is a value to utilizing your reps, and it's important to me to say that, and to have customers say that, because it's part of our industry. And to be honest, like if people stop shopping the shows altogether and only rely on fair, guess what? Those shows are going to go away, because going to those shows, pays for what people like myself do and pays for the reps and pays for the showroom rents. And after a while, you will start to see, and showrooms already have started backing out. So it is important that everyone still like supports our industry because it is on a very precarious little point right now. And I think it's important to touch on that. So thank you.
I did notice that in one of the last shows I was at. I actually heard some other stores complaining in the showrooms, like, the selection is down. I spent all this money to come to market and I'm not finding anything.
Yeah.
And, it is full circle. If you're going to order online and then you're going to order on Fair or you're going to whatever, then the showrooms, they have high overhead.
Yeah.
And these companies aren't going to pay to be in them. So I don't know. I personally think that a lot of these companies and people who organize these shows need to just start hugging up on each other. Why isn't apparel connecting with gift? I mean, they have all these empty floors, these empty showrooms. Why aren't they like doing like Atlanta and Dallas and combining it? It would make sense to me.
Atlanta and Dallas have their own wings, and they haven't. Like, I wish they would, cross merchandise, so to speak. Like, have some of the apparel showrooms, move into some of those empty spaces for a temporary basis to get the traffic to go to the other side. It's true. Like, I mean, this goes back from way in the day of like, if you remember Los Angeles used to be a place, and it was like the LA Mart was literally all 12 or 13 floors were all gift showrooms. And that's when the convention center was going on and Kentia Hall downstairs. And there were trams that took you back and forth to both. And somewhere along the way, the industry got broken in the sense of no one was loving up on each other. It was like, that's that show, that we're at this show. And, the good news is Ann Moore has purchased, I understand Ann Moore has purchased Shop Objet. So there, ideally, hopefully at one point, there are intermixing, there's another show going on at the same time and there's trolleys taking you back. I'm saying trolleys like I'm 800 years old, whatever you call them. Shuttles.
The wagon.
Oh my God, I'm like listening to myself, like, what am I saying? But I just remember those days, and it's like it is very different. And even like when New York Now is going on and Shop Objet, and there's a day crossover, they still are conducting business like neither have anything to do with each other. And it's sad as an industry how disconnected it's become in certain because it's a business, and at the end of the day, it's a business. But I wish somehow they would love up on each other where the buyers can go and see multiple things at the same time, because in the same breath, it is incredibly hard to go to shows and not come away with anything new. And newness comes with the showrooms being able to bring in new people, to have vendors to be able to pay for, it's not inexpensive to show at the shows. They have a fee, and then they have to have samples for everybody. And there's a lot more to it than just getting new people just to show up. I mean, it is, I do hope that for our industry, because it is at a weird point right now where it's like, what's going to happen? And it's the tariffs and the COVIDs are the things that change the industry. So it will be interesting to see how this next phase affects our industry.
Yeah, and I think they definitely need to make it more buyer friendly as far as trying to inspire. I remember years ago going to LA and going to San Francisco and walking in a showroom and like, oh my gosh, just being overwhelmed and just ready to come back and redo my whole store.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, seen that. It's the same as last year, and it's just, except for your showrooms that you do, of course.
You didn't say that. You did not have to say that. It's, I think, as a merchandiser, I had a meeting with the brand who I want this job so bad, and I can't mention them, but I want this job so bad. But and to explain to them what I do, because I remember the days of not Department 56, and their showrooms were over the top. I mean, over the
Mhm.
top. And Department 56 kind of broke out, and it's like I think some of them are with 180 now. I think some of them are with Demdaco now. But those big displays where the whole place was changed front to back, all my merchandising is less theatrical and more merchandising towards the retailer. Like my goal is when you go in and you see a tabletop, like how we've merchandised whatever products we've curated, that you want to do that whole thing at home, which is why I tend to merchandise with
Yeah.
multiples instead of just one of this and one of that. Because to me, it's like, it's not what it's going to look like in my store. But it's those days of those big theatrical showrooms. It's true. It's like that whole generation, because that generation is older than I am, and that generation, it's slowly but surely going away. And it's like, what's the next iteration of what these showrooms look like that will wow you as well as storytell and everything that we're supposed to be doing to the customers.
Do you remember what was that line? It was Catherine's. It was you walked in the showroom and it was like you were in Disneyland, and it was all
Ooh,
Christmas decor. I
I
think it
got it.
was Catherine's.
Yeah, they were at in LA up in forget the Christmas showroom, but I forgot about that. Yeah, they had all those
Yeah.
really intricate those what a nightmare that would be to set up those. Everything was hanging from monofilament, like hundreds
Yes.
of ornaments hanging from monofilament. And I will say this, that I'm so thankful that when I do Christmas showrooms, I am not the person because that is like so detail oriented for an ADD person. But yeah, I forgot all about that showroom. And it's that is the magic that is the shows. And like I said, it's interesting to see, and it will be interesting how it changes and how display is being shown, because it's not that theatrical movie set vibe anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, and it probably has a lot to do with design. Everything's kind of streamlined, and this last market, everything was wicker and white and driftwood.
I was going
So
to ask you, what were some of your favorite takeaways from the gift show? Because I know we're heading into an hour plus, but I'm okay with going long. But what were some of your favorite things that you saw at show? And what shows did you?
uh, I did Atlanta in January, and I just did Vegas. Um, I didn't really find a lot of what I would say was brand new, excited. Because I'm also looking, pinpointing it towards, in my head when I walk through the showroom, I'm like, can I put this in a basket? Can I put this in a basket? What theme is this going to go with? Um, but um, I guess I really like a lot of the um, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, yeah, totally on the spot. Yeah. Um,
Mine was butter. I don't know why. I think because I've been following David Stark design. And for anybody who doesn't know who David Stark is, he is a very big event planner, and he has done an installation with butter that I am so obsessed with, that now seeing, like, I think Yellow Owl does a really cute like grocery shopper plastic bag and butter. And then Wow, who's the sock people who do the socks that look like food, they did a butter
oh yeah.
scarf. I mean, and Fred did a pasta. Like food for me was a big thing this season. And it maybe because
Mhm.
I'm working with the restaurant, but food was like one of my favorite things. And Fred did an amazing group of like pasta shaped chip clips. And I don't know, like it was just so cute. And all I'm thinking, because I go through shows thinking of cross merchandising. What can I, and I'm like, oh, we're doing a pasta story. So I can show pasta books and then
Mhm.
actual pasta and the sauce and, these chip clips that look like rigatoni. I mean, that's how I'm approaching. But that food was the thing for me, the show. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah, and you're right. You see a lot more food. You see, like creatives now, it's got their own little jams and jelly and sauce line.
Okay.
Finch and fennel, is that right?
Okay.
Um, and I think because so many more stores are adding that into their selection, because if you think about um, you know, people, we have everything, as a society in the US, we all have a lot of stuff and we don't need more stuff, but we always use food and we can always share food. So it seems like a necessity. If you're, buying someone a gift, then get them something they can eat and share with others. So I think that's maybe why a lot of stores are venturing out into the food products, because that's, seems like more practical.
I think also for me, it's like it's nice. It's a low buy-in. Like it fills up a lot of space. It's a low buy-in, and you can create a story with it. And it's again like after COVID, like everybody staying home and cooking. It's like it was kind of like that easy gift. But for what you do, it seems like that's like obviously a really big category. I'm assuming for you with the
Yeah, and another thing too, when I started doing the gift baskets and I kind of reconfigured my store, we put a hole in the wall. We made a bar, and that's for events. So I do a lot of networking events, and whenever we do those, you sample things out, and I never understood the power of sampling.
okay.
Um, I mean, whether it be
A little bit about
candy or jam or and I can do wine. You sample it, people buy it. And instead of saying, hey, this is great licorice, I'm like, okay, yeah, but if you give them the licorice and they taste it, they're going to buy it. And uh, if you can in your store put some sort of little corner designated area to sample things out, you'll be shocked
So how do
how.
you like because you had just said here's some, instead of them coming over like, oh, what is this? Do you walk around the store like, hey, do you want to try this? Do you want to try that? Or is it you've designated the place so it's now become a destination, people know to go there?
If I have an event, they'll know that there's snacks back there or we have beverages, to serve. But like this last weekend, the city had a little sip and stroll downtown, and there was they were sampling out a specific wine in my store. And so I figured, hey, I'm just going to add some other food products to go with that. So we were sampling out some salted licorice and a simple syrup to make like a mocktail. And we sampled those out and we were selling it all night. And yeah, I will walk around. People are standing there with their glass. I'm like, hey, you want to try this licorice with it? And they're like, oh, I don't like black licorice. And I'm like, I don't either. I couldn't stand it, but you're going to like this.
Salty,
So, of course, they try it.
salty licorice is the best, by the way.
Well, yes, yes. And I've never been a big fan, but yeah, I can eat the whole thing.
Is because we're getting to the end of our time, but tell me a little bit because I always ask this, so this question's coming is where do you find inspiration? Like before you go to the shows, you talked about knowing your customer and you talked about really looking and seeing what you're going to buy. Like how do you find inspirations before you go into the shows and before the holiday startup, which we're going to be going into very soon here?
Well, like for holiday, back in January, I'm focused on purchasing my, the main core of my holiday goods. And I don't really go to market thinking of a theme. I hope for a spark. I will go to all the showrooms and I'll see a display or I'll see a collection of a particular merchandise from a vendor and I'll be like, okay, I'm doing that. So like this year with creative, they had the whole, what I call Candyland decor for their holiday. So that's one of my main themes for holiday is Candyland. And I'm not very traditional when it comes to holidays. So I will not do what you'd see, black and white or, red and green and Santa. And I don't do that, but I try to always be different and take on the seasonal as something unique a unique experience. So that's why it's going to be Candy Shop. So I'm really going with that. Or like last fall, I didn't know what I was going to do, and I'm not going to do your traditional pumpkins and whatever. So I walked in a showroom and they had a cowhide on top of a table, and it looked like this really cool boho country girl with dried flowers and old crates. And I was like, so I went down to cash and carry and bought me a cowhide. So, and then just built it around that. So when I go to market, I got my little notebook, and, I'm old fashioned. So I'm writing down each floor, what I saw, what I liked, sketching out colors, and it's all right here.
Love that.
And then,
thank you.
yeah. And I go back and I'm like, okay, floor 10. Okay. They take all my money. Let's see. Oh, there was this lemon, and I'm like, okay, I saw this cookbook on, south of France. Okay. And then, so that's how I start building.
Yeah.
And when I buy, this is a side point. I don't know where I went. Sorry. But when I go to shows, the first 2 days are literally, I'm just surfing. I'm searching and I'm looking and I'm combing through and I'm making notes. And I don't really buy until the last day.
That's exactly how I do and how I tell people. If you have time, walk the show and look at, because it will present itself. It will reveal itself what. And I think that I've learned my lesson, because I used to I'd be on limited time. I'd hit the show floor. I'd start writing orders, and just even because the trends, you'll start seeing it everywhere. It's like, I bought whatever at the first 2 showrooms I saw, and then I found it somewhere else. It's less and it's cuter. And now I've got to remember to go back and cancel that stupid order. It's like, I've learned from that, like, cause that is like, and then when you forget to cancel it, then you learn, because now you have it in 2 different ways and 2 different price points.
Yeah. That's so much easier to be cohesive in your displays and your merchandise plan for the season if you just wait and do it on the last day. And that's how I pick up a lot of new vendors. I always do temporaries first, because your new vendors are going to be there, and I'll find some sort of little gem that I just love, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to fit that in? And I'll go and I'll order my other merchandise from, my other big vendors. And then I'll come back and pick up that little gem and fit it into some sort of display or idea. But yeah, that saved me lots of money, because if you just go in and just start writing orders, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, I don't remember what I bought.
Because I now with this new client, they're a restaurant, so it's very different writing orders for restaurant, doing gift shows and taking the group through. And like every night I go through my POs, and every night I look at like, okay, is there, it's like, if there is something we got all excited about and it's like, okay, now we don't love it so much, so I can make the cancellations before, because if they put the order through right away, 9 times out of 10, you get back from the show and it's like there in your store already. And it's like, damn.
Yeah.
So I've learned to go through at the end of the day, but and that's also because I carry a notebook as well, and like write down what floors I remember, or something I saw, or a display, same thing. And I think it's so important. And it's as old school as that is, you could take a picture, but guaranteed, I doubt you can remember what floor that was on or what showroom that is, unless there's some telltale sign there, or the brand, who carries it. But it's, that I think the old school way of writing notes, that's how I still do it to this day, and photos.
Yeah. And I think if you're a creative, that's the only way that works.
Yeah.
And also the other tip is, whatever you buy, you take a photo of it. I have to take photos of everything, because you're looking at your POs. You're like, okay, what the heck was this? I don't remember. What did I buy? And at least I have photos. And then, and especially if you're a store that is buying apparel at one market, and then you're buying gift at another market, at least you can like, okay, this is all my apparel lines. Okay. I had teal, I had blues. Okay. I go to the gift show. Okay. I need teals and blues. So you can see what you had. So taking pictures has saved me a lot too. And it really helps coordinate.
Funny, Misty from 85 Local, who we've had on and who I've become friends with, she's at the magic's going on right now when we're recording this, and she just sent me two pictures of two sweaters that have oranges on them. And I don't know about you, but I saw a ton of citrus stuff at the show, and I was like, oh my God, please send me that vendor, because I want those sweaters to go back to, because I think they're spring that they're showing, because we're doing a whole fruit and farm to table thing at the restaurant. And I was like, oh, those are perfect. But it's having those pictures. It's true. It's like to be able to cross reference, like, oh, I can cross. And especially if you're a store like yourself, or like that take cues from Anthropologie, where you're cross merchandising gift and home. That's how you do it, folks. It's like photos and making notes on what you wrote. So when you do, if you do the apparel shows, you're able to kind of like do your merchandising and curating as you're going through the show, which is a feat in itself. It's not easy.
No, it's not. And especially with Atlanta, I got lost. I didn't even know where I was half the time.
It's huge. I've learned, I will say this, from when I did the opening for Artful of Trading, because they redid the garden floor, I think it was last January. And because they had all the elevators blocked off, you couldn't get there as a regular person. Like even if you were there to look and buy that week or whatever, the floor was closed. So it was this intricate maze of like, go down to the third floor, and then you have to go over to the C building, and then you take this elevator.
Oh, no.
I could not. One day it took me, and I'm not kidding you, and I'm embarrassed to say this. One day it took me literally an hour and a half to get back to finding where the hell I was, because I was so, and I know this building like the back of my hand, but because they had closed off and like all these different areas, I'm like, just tell me how to get there, please. Like from the ground floor, like please don't make me cross over built. Like you were crossing bridges on certain floors, and other floors you can't. I mean, that building, I get it. That building is like a total maze.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Now that we've bent everyone's ear on the ins and outs of Atlanta, Shelly, thank you so much for being part of this podcast. Thank you for submitting your store. Such a joy talking to you. And I know, like, what I love is like how much information you just brought everybody. And like, this is what I love about this podcast, is like everyone sharing what they do. And there's no weirdness of like, I don't want to tell anybody my quote secrets. Like you just like, thank you for sharing your knowledge, because that was really a pleasurable, now going on an hour and 15 minutes.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel blessed to even be considered to, be on here with you, because I just, I love your podcast, and I've picked up so many gems from previous interviews that, I haven't gone through them all yet, but yeah, it's just, it's lovely. And it's such a pleasure to talk with you too.
And congratulations on 25 years. That's amazing.
It is amazing. And I do it because I love it. And, I don't think there's too many people that, can aspire to do anything for 25 years. And right now at this point, I'm loving it more than ever. And it's super fun. And to be able to, like go into doing the gift baskets, it's just like doing your own little merchandise on a smaller scale, your own little display. So it's so fun, and it's very fulfilling.
Well, congratulations, because whatever you're doing, it's obviously working.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay. And then I'm going to put it out there. Anytime you're doing any of the markets, you just let me know. I will fly down there on my miles, and you just, I'm an only child. You just have to point and tell me what to do. I'm a self-starter. I can do it. So
I'm going to join in. I mean, crossing my fingers for the brand I'm not mentioning here yet, but yes, that'd be amazing.
Yes, I will merchandise for coffee.
Oh my God. I love you for that. Thank you.